I'm live. I'm not ready yet. I'll tell you what. This is for all you people out there. I want you to turn. God damn, look, I got a black eye. Holy shit! I want you to turn it up real loud. Okay, turn it up real loud. Pay attention to what I got to say because this is important stuff, right? I want you to share this with your friends that aren't paying attention. I'm watching porn. Okay, now that we got everything going and everybody's paying attention, you've got a lovely gift to share with your friends for the holidays or a business occasion. Thank you for joining in. Yeah, we're going to love that part. Yeah. So let's get it on. Let's begin. Man, I'm walking around in this chair like an old man. My piles is hurting. I saw something today that inspired my daily email, which you have. If you haven't subscribed to it, I highly suggest that you do it. Don't cost nothing. But there's some interesting things that came out of that. And if I may, I'm going to read it to you here now and share it with you because I feel it's worth sharing, or I wouldn't have written it and sent it out. Let's see here. What is the most important thing? Somewhere deep in our past, in the most ancient of times, you had an ancestor that stood on a battlefield. And yes, I am stealing this off the internet, but it was so inspirational to me, I had no choice but to do it. Or they prepared to hunt a mammoth. Risky pursuits, to be sure, right? But they had a son or a daughter before they began this adventure. They learned a few things along the way, and they passed them on. See, and then another ancestor survived an invasion, and another one survived a plague, and another plague, and another invasion, and on it goes down to you standing here today. See, the thing we need to remember is that the shaping of individuals that survive in that environment like that is so far beyond our realm of imagination that even the movies that we watch that suggest what it might really be like are a pale comparison to what our ancestors had to go through. Well, it's just the way it is. But what you do need to remember is that in that time, in those areas where things were tough, these people didn't have any doubt of their abilities. I have those chaps. These are my great grandfather's chaps, handmade on a ranch at the turn of the last century, or before the turn of the last century, that they were on cattle drives. And my grandfather went on cattle drives to drive cattle across northern Texas to the railhead in New Mexico. They didn't spend any time wondering if they were man enough to do it. They simply went and did it. I mean, that ties in with another comment. A students teach and B students work for C students because C students were too stupid to figure out it couldn't be done and they went and did it. They didn't doubt their abilities. They believed in themselves. See, they were most likely not concerned with these pastimes of leisure that we become engaged in, figuring out that we can't bite our own teeth. We can't see behind our eyes. No matter how fast we turn around, we're not going to see behind our eyes. No, they didn't consider that you can't have buying without selling. You can't sell something if someone isn't buying it. You could have a $14 million comic book. You could have Superman #1, right? You could have a Babe Ruth baseball card, making it just perfect. It ain't worth a fucking thing if nobody's going to buy it. You can't beat your own heart. You can't. There's so many things your body does on automatic that we believe in ourselves. We build muscle. We do all these things. That is something. That idea of remembering who you are is something that's pointed out in the Poetic Edda, the Heimdallgoth, right? And I don't know, a lot of people, they don't really like my interpretation of it, but I really don't care because I think mine is right. Because it serves a purpose. It shapes itself into a useful tool in the way I talk about it, as opposed to the way other people talk about it, right? It's real simple. It's Freya, right? Freya is taking this man to seek the Herefather, right? To seek this god Odin that gives gifts, to seek Thor. She's going to seek Thor too. It says real clear here. But first she talks to this woman under a rock. This is This is a street person shuffling down the streets of Philadelphia or LA, strung out, fucked up, all the other thing. You see him covered in scabs, dirty, smell a little bit. This is a goddess of love, magic, war, death, all of the things, and calls this woman a sister in thy hollow cave. Already comes darkness, and ride we must to Valhalla to seek the sacred hall. The favor of the Here Father we seek to find. To his followers gold he gladly gives. To Hermoth gave he helm and mail coat, and to Sigmund he gave a sword as a gift. Triumph to some and treasures to others, to many wisdom and skill in words, fair winds to the sailor and to the singer his art, and a manly heart to many a hero. Thor shall I honor, and this shall I ask, that his favor true mayest thou ever find, though little the brides of the giants he loves. So she's going to ask Odin for blessings for this man, and she's going to ask Thor for protection for this sister. It's an interesting dynamic there. She says, from the stall now one of thy wolves lead forth, and along with my boar shalt thou let him run. For slow my boar goes on the road of the gods, and I would not weary my worthy steed. Well, Heindla calls it out. Falsely thou askest me, Frey, to go, for so in the glance of thine eyes I see. On the way of the slain thy lover goes with thee, Otter the young, the son of Instein. She says, wild dreams methinks are mine when thou sayest my lover is with me on the way of the slain. There shines the boar with bristles of gold, Hildisfani, he who was made by Dane and Nabby, the cunning dwarfs. Now let us down from our saddles leap, so she's not riding the boar, and talk of the race of the heroes twain, the men who were born of the gods above. A wager have made in the foreign metal, Otter the young and Angantyr. We must guard for the hero young to have his father's wealth, the fruits of his race. When I look at that, it continues on. So there's a lot of information in that we need to remember. One is the gods are on our side. Whatever your faith may be, if your faith is active, it is not just a spirituality. It is an aspect of your very culture. It is an aspect of who you is. Hinduism is not so much a religion as it is a very part of the culture in which they live. And so the same should be with us. Whatever faith or spirituality you may wish to pursue, those gods are on our side. And just as important to remember that, the equal other side is there are other things that are not on our side. Now, I don't know what they look like or what their names are or any of that other nonsense. I'm sure there are people that do. Suffice it to say, they exist. And they're just as determined to empower the ideas in your own mind that you can't with every bit as much vigor as the gods will tell you you can. You can't have one without the other. And then a terrible thing to figure out. See, those people, they had faith in their gods, as we should too. The foolishness of making the determination that I am separate from everyone else is a grand idea. In the Heindel, she continues down that list and reminds Otter of all of these wonderful ancestors that were in his family tree, the ones that stood on the battlefield, the ones that won the war, the ones that survived the plague, the ones that built empires, the ones that left a mark on history that he should be remembering himself. And yet this lowborn or this lost individual, maybe not lowborn, but this lost individual knows it, but he can't seem to remember it. What's breaking down that thought? What's interfering with our ability to remember that strengthening, that empowering, that vigor, that I'm made of that kind of stuff, tougher than barbed wire and meaner than boot leather, right? Where do we forget that? A lot of it comes sometimes, and I always say it comes from our ego. See, I would love to be that. I would love to. The foolishness of making the determination that I am separate from everyone else is a grand idea. How I would love to be that bigger, better, stronger, smarter, special, unique, desired, celebrated, all of those things we just know we would have in spades were we truly unique. I'll continue in a minute. because that uniqueness is a poison to us. It is something that will separate us from everything that we are. See, because the flip side of that same coin is quite likely that I would be alone, a freak, an aberration, isolated, misunderstood, singular, outcast, wild, and untouchable. Because the reality of it is, those ancient people multiplied many, many more times. Not just your direct ancestor, but several others. As much as we would like to be separate, we have to realize that there are a bunch of us walking around with that same unique piece of DNA, albeit mixed with a much different or broader or great. There are distant cousins we have all over the place. You have distant cousins all over the world with their own unique mixture of the DNA. We cannot look ourselves in the eye without a mirror. And similarly, we cannot build ourselves into a being that maximizes that mixture of DNA without the aid of others who are capable of pointing out which side of the coin we seem to be falling upon. In this particular case, she calls a Jotun, a giantess. You have a goddess and a Jotun supporting and encouraging this man to move forward to remind him of who he is. Interesting that it takes both of them to do it. Also interesting that she says, loose one of your wolves because my boar is dragging along. Otter is disguised as that boar. She's not giving him a loving pat. She cuts a wolf loose on his ass. Right? So she's doing something that's forcing him to pick up his feet and put one in front of the other and keep moving forward. We have to find others who will aid us in pointing out which side of the coin we fall on. Isn't it odd that the greatest foundation of freedom, the single factor most contributing to a perception of strength, is not the lone wolf, but that one who is a valuable member of a community, one who is capable of giving of himself without expectation of return, who acts accordingly when a need is perceived, who understands the maxim of the Havamal that says, the lives of the brave and noble are best. Sorrows they seldom feed, but the coward fear of all things feels, and not gladly the niggard gives. Niggard, perhaps a better term. Not gladly the stingy give. The one who bravely tells another man that this is or is not the way to do things. Those are the people we should value in our lives. And there's some that aren't very confrontational, right? Some of the best leadership advice I ever got were from senior NCOs and officers that could tell you something that allowed you the ability to make your decision to grab a hold of it and move forward. Instead of just downright, like a drill sergeant is going to do it one way, he has a job to do and it requires that effort. Your senior NCOs and your officers have a different job to do. One does it in garrison, one does it on the field of battle. But the encouragement that they give comes out in such a manner of the best officers and NCOs and men we want and women that we want to associate with, comes out in the best ways that say, okay, if it were me, perhaps this is how I would do it. Instead of outright cutting a wolf loose on your ass, which is what you're going to get when you ask for divine interception or interaction or interference or some kind of help in the problem that you're trying to deal with that you're not doing a very good job of. When you ask for that help, it may not be so gentle. If you don't exist in a state of mind that is ready and willing and welcoming to the kind of mindset that says, okay, I do have some things I need to work on. Am I surrounded by individuals that are willing to help point those flaws out for me? Right? Am I surrounded by individuals who will say, they won't outright tell you you're a screw up, but might say, case in point, let's say there's a single dad, right? Another dad like me. And they're not really giving it their best. What advice would I give somebody like that? Well, I think the best thing to say would be to say, sometimes when we find ourselves in those situations, it's very difficult and very easy to blame, very easy to play the victim. It's very easy to do all kinds of things that may not necessarily be at the best interest or welfare for our children. The most important thing we can do is the very best we can with the understanding that they are all we have. We are all they have. See, that's the thing about some of the children today. Sometimes you look around, you got to realize, shit, I'm all they have. And so we're done with Thanksgiving now. We've taken a couple of days off and done a bunch of good things. I see you guys evening. And now we're getting ready to get back into it. We got about a 3-week push. Then we're going to the holidays. Everybody's going to disappear for 2 weeks. We're going to all go our own way. We're going to spend time with family and friends that we haven't seen in a year. I'm really looking forward to going down to see my family. That's my tribe. Those are the people that tell me, along with the one I'm with now, maybe not so much, Brian. It's not easy to do. I'm 5'10", 225 pounds. Let's say I change my mind or get angry. Flounce around and throw shit and act an ass and pout and bitch and moan, piss and complain. No, blah, blah, blah. I still need to be told when I'm screwing up. I don't want to surround myself with a bunch of yes men. I know a man that I've known for many years, who surrounded himself with a bunch of yes men. And it didn't pay off the way he thought it would. It didn't pan out for him very well at all. And I hate it for him. But that's his path. That's what he's got to figure out. These are the things he's got to figure out. Life is an ever more complex situation if you will it to be. Once you decide to surround yourselves with good people, once you decide to build a kind of commonwealth of individuals that are all kind of working together towards doing something and being something better, we also begin to understand each other. The greatest pains that we have in the world today are caused by the ideas of uniqueness or being separate from. When the fact of the matter is, all those ancestors, everyone we look at, everyone we hang out with, could be in some regards some kind of cousin somewhere. Or most assuredly, our forefathers met on a battlefield, right? And then, my sister likes to piss me off. She always says, well, everybody traces the dad back. But she said, she's like, Brian, you're forgetting about the milkman and the stable boy. Which is also a possible reality that, well, shit, right? All the wonderful ideas that I had thought of, that kind of goes down the drain. But whatever the case may be, our primary responsibility is to surround ourselves with individuals that will bravely tell another man that this is or is not the way to do things. Because that man or woman is as surely a reflection of him or her as is the image in the mirror. Those people we associate with closely, those people we bring into the Innengarth. A lot of people you can keep on the outer ring, but the ones you bring on the inside, the Innengarth, those select few who are part and parcel of your journey through this life, make it an amazing thing. One of the things that got me started on this current venue, I don't even know what to say, school of thought, flurry of activity, all of the things was I had a dream, and I think dreams are very important. In fact, my dreams today are how I maintain communication with those people that have passed on. I don't know if that's them really or not. And hell, it could be really them. I don't know. But it brings me an enormous amount of joy and comfort and refuge from grief to visit with those people that have passed on that I loved dearly. All of my grandparents. I see my father occasionally. And those dreams have the same kind of ethereal substance in my thoughts as do the memories that I have. And perhaps even more so. That's one of my secrets about dealing with death. But this song came on, and it's called "Ride, Captain Ride." It was written, I don't know when it was, 1970, the year I was born. Shit. It says, "Be amazed at the friends you have here on your trip." It's about a journey to some great far grand horizon, but nobody wants to join because they're all too busy crying in their beer. They're too busy watching those raindrops fall. They're all tied up in other bullshit outside of themselves, as if it's important, as if it has relevance, as if it has some kind of meaning, as if their voice about it might matter, as if their voice about it, the lone voice, means nothing. The lone voice has the same effect as the lone wolf in the woods. Yep, we hear you. Now, if it's 15 wolves, we got an issue. And the same thing with men, same thing with women. You get a group of sisters together, you get a group of women together who are close as sisters. And I'm telling you right now, that's the most dangerous environment an uncouth or uneducated or unfeeling individual man might ever step into, because I promise you, as soon as he says something stupid, and invariably, like my big dumb redneck ass will, I will be told about it immediately. As it should be. I mean, that's exactly what it should be. Thank you. That's what it should be. Because those kind of things are important in life. Look, we sacrificed the great man and woman making ceremonies of the past for convenience, to make money, to move forward in the world. We are just now beginning to figure out, oh, we need each other. And I think that's the entirety of that message in the Heindel Yoth. We need all of those ancestors. We need that remembrance. We need to understand that strength that goes with it, because it's a part of who we are. Who knows when we may be called upon to use that, when we might be called upon to harness it, put it to use, and spend time protecting that group of sisters or our children or our families or some random person walking down the street. It's part and parcel of who we are. It's a fine line we got to walk. But I think this whole area of uncertainty, where everyone has a voice, and most of them are a lie. That's part of the problem. But we do need to surround ourselves with people that we can be amazed at the friends we have here on our trip. Because as we search for that far grand horizon, there are some individuals that stand out, that stand the test of time, that understand, hey, I know that I have somebody. I know there's somebody that will believe in me. I know there's somebody that will trust me. I know there's somebody that will value me. I know there's somebody that will, say, hey, maybe not so much, right? And women have that primary role in the hearth, not the man. I'm sorry, guys. When it comes to the front door, that's another story. I did make the mistake. Actually, I do it a lot because I have a lot of fun with it. Of telling Shanae in Walmart, listen here, woman, you're going to have to learn how to mind me, just to see how people react. I did it once with Jeff's mom. We were in Target in the maternity aisle. That was a unique experience. And then I kind of delight in that kind of stuff because I think it's funny as hell. Well, I'm glad you're here. Make sure, Brett, you pay attention to the first part of the video, because it's got a unique message, and I hope that you share it with everyone. No, please don't. I don't care. Go ahead. If I get in trouble, I'll get in trouble. On my own 2 feet. I think that's kind of what we got to go. So when we're looking at all these things about people staying together, understanding you can't have one without the other. I mean, I heard Alan Watts say one time that those people that form groups that despise another group owe that other group a great debt of gratitude. They owe them a huge debt, because we probably wouldn't associate if we didn't all hate this political party or this group over here or that group over there. I would probably never associate with anybody. And then it becomes, oh, well, those people are doing it very hard. They're a little more strict. They must really have something on the ball. They must really understand they're powerful. They've decided to take action to make a stand, and they must really understand. And then you realize that's all it is. It's one thing, and you're associated with all these individuals, and because of that one thing and how they're so loudly blaring it about, they're fixing to have their ass handed to them over some dumb shit, right? But by the same token, They wouldn't all be together, wouldn't get to know each other if they didn't have one thing to bitch about. So that's how that's how everybody joins up together. We have to do better than that if we expect to survive. Who knows what's coming around the bend? I mean, I pointed that the other day in my email. The world is not used to the kind of war that we waged in World War II. They would be aghast at the fire bombings of Dresden. They would be of Germany. They would be horrified at what happened in World War II. When the literal what really happened when the bombs went off in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, what really happened with human wave attacks from the Chinese soldiers in Korea. They would be appalled at the violence and savagery of what happened in Vietnam and and parts of Afghanistan and Iraq. But today, whether you like them or not, Israel is not screwing around. Maybe somebody should have told those guys on the Gaza Strip, that might not be such a good idea doing that, because they're going to level this place old school style, right? Old Testament fashion. Of course, the other side of that coin is that every time in the Bible they ventured forth to do those kind of things, they end up conquered and enslaved. That's also part of the Old Testament. Maybe they should pay attention to that. Be that as it may, we need to be the same way. But you can't do it by yourself. You'll end up in jail, stupid, in prison, or however. But we've got to cement an understanding of where we come from, who we are, and what it is we are developing ourselves to protect, support, encourage, and build the wealth around. That's the whole reason for a commonwealth, is to get a group of people together, not to become rich by financial standards, although that is a part of the process, but to develop that kind of wealth that is a part of a community where, oh, somebody needs a job, I'm going to go to these guys first. Oh, somebody needs to borrow some money. Okay, let's all get together and help them out. And I'm going to tell you right now, the key to happiness is the absence of expectation. It may not get paid back to you. You always need to realize that when you loan out some money, period. That's just the way life is. Now, those are the kind of mindsets and attitudes that allow us to be amazed at the friends we have here on this trip. When we all understand who we are, where we come from, what we're capable of, and what we're worth, life takes on a whole new flavor. I moved into this apartment by myself. I carried all the furniture in by myself, the bed, everything. Wasn't easy to do, but I did it. I didn't want to ask anybody because I would really, personally, really and truly rather take an ass whooping than move. I would rather go out behind that building and fight 5 men and see if they can whip me than move a household of stuff. I got one more I got to make, probably 2. It would have been nice to have some people, or my sons or somebody, to come give me a hand just for a day. That's one of the benefits of having a Commonwealth community, a local community. The stuff we do on the internet is so important because it exposes us to those other ideas that allow us to continue to develop ourselves. I routinely look at liberal ideologies, right? I don't necessarily buy them. I think some of them are a little bit far gone. I think some of them they denigrate and deny the validity of everything that makes us who we are in an effort to play a make-believe game so nobody's feelings get hurt. But mostly it's a money grab. Mostly it's a money grab for bleeding hearts, right? The evils of capitalism. But there is no system of government or finance known to man right now that has ever given the common man the opportunity to rise above their current station in life than the current capital market. Everybody says, well, it's corrupt. That could be. It's also a pattern. A group of people can figure out a pattern. And there we have the beginnings of building wealth. There's no shortage of good men and women around the world. We're everywhere. There's a lot of good people here. Some of us are further along the path than others. But learning to appreciate and accept where someone is and and deal with them favorably anyway. To deal well with a man in want is one of those things that makes us who we are. It makes us the kind of person that says, "Well, I want some of what that guy has working in my life." That's part of it. Is to deal well with a man in want, to be there. Because let's face it, I have miracles happen in my life all the time, right? I just always have. I've always been very lucky with everything. I've always been blessed in most of the things I do. And some people would look at the things I'm going through and say, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how he's making it. Oh, it's in a tough spot. He's in a bad way." Um, I never buy into that thinking. I never buy into that thought process. I never buy into the idea of this is just more than I can deal with. And I've been in some really tough spots that the easiest thing to do would be to give up, right? To give up and just let go and just become part of that under the bridge crowd. I fortunately have had a bunch of kids and have picked up a few more along the way, and I love all of them. And my understanding is I may be all they have someday when they're in a tough spot to remember that their dad got out of it, right? That's what it's always got to be. It's that example of life, that example of life. And as the school is kind of on hold right now, but the Commonwealth is the next step in that, and that's what this is all going to center on: is building those individuals that are willing to shape up or ship out, that are willing to become a part of something and say, "Hey, okay, I see where you're at on it. I see where you're at on it. I'm here. Let's do this and let's do this and I'll do this and let's see what we can build together." The fierce independence, rugged, isolated. See, that's another screwed up thing about Western societies. The symbol of masculinity is a female bovine and an immature male, the cowboy. What? Why not the bull man or the horse lord or some fucking awesome shit like that? But whatever. I digress. That always kind of tripped me out. We have opportunity now to redesign and reestablish and build that solid footprint. And we got to do it on those kind of positive ideas that build people up and bring people forward. The people innately understand they have. Well, I've got Bryan. There's Jeremy. I've got there's Shanae. There's Brett. There's all of these people that are willing to jump in and be a part of something great. And then in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping and resting, I get to have those wonderful dreams of those ancestors that made me who I am, or maybe they didn't make me who I am, or all of those wonderful things. But it's this intricate, the web of weird, right? And it's an interesting thing how we make that work. But it is us that makes it work. It is us that makes us work by being amazed at the friends we have our onward trip, by understanding that all of our ancestors survived to give us a place to breathe oxygen. Yeah, it's true. It's very true. We can survive. I can survive all day long. I don't want to survive. I want to thrive. I want to grab life by the damn balls and make it give me what I want. Plain and simple. So, the best way I've been able to figure out how to do that is to talk with people, to write books, talk with people, and share who I am to the most that I can. And if it's valuable to them, let's run with it. Let's do something great. And if it's not, okay, let's learn from it. Let's see what we can do. That's what we're looking for here. That's what we're looking for. Now, I am going to get off of here because I am going to do another show at 9:30 on Zoom for my Patreon. I'm going to continue on with the Goethe building program. And tonight we're going to discuss Tacitus and then on Germania. And then there's another book called the Anglo-Saxon priesthood. And it takes reference from Caesar and a few others. It's very interesting how the two tie together, written many centuries apart. but there's an integral part to what that means. It wasn't a bunch of I'll tell you how to do it. It was this is the way. Join in on it. Celebrate in your own homes. In your home, you are the king. Let's be generous. Let's be brave. Let's live life, and let's see what we can become. So, having said all that, I feel like I'm tapped out. My spiritual taproot of wisdom has petered out, if it as it were, and yep, I think I need it. Well, I'll tell you what. If you sign up for the Patreon, I'll give you the school for free. That's how that works. Anyone that's a member of the Patreon gets the school for free. But there's as much stuff on that Patreon as there is on this YouTube that is unique and independent stuff separate from this. So there's some interviews on there, and there's just a lot of good stuff, a lot of books. But feel free to jump in on it, and I look forward to tomorrow. I know I'll give it to you. I'll refund that and give it back to you. Put you in there for free. Be no big deal. That way, I'm not gonna do that. So if you want to jump in on the Patreon side, go for it. We'll take care of the other side and set you up at a no charge on that, which I'm perfectly fine with. So I'll get that running again pretty quick once I get some more material ready to upload on it, and then we'll continue on the Patreon for now. I will say this: the school is kind of a place for everybody to be involved, kind of like this is. The Patreon is certainly more my pagan, Austrian, Norse heathenry, that kind of style living that I celebrate as a part of my life. That allows me to develop this kind of courage to share with individuals and gives me the desire to want to do so. That's the real thing right there. Because let's face it, I've been doing it for almost 20 years now, and I think it's just what I do. All right, I appreciate everybody's time tonight. I'm gonna get off here. I've got to get ready for that, and then I will see everybody here again next Sunday. And I look forward to talking to you and hearing your comments. I know, right? All right, we'll take care. You guys take care, and I will see you next Sunday, live and in charge. And remember, Brett, share that video. Share the intro to the video. It's wonderful. You'll love it. All right, tomorrow's Monday. We got to come back from a long weekend. I hope everybody's football team won. Hope you got stuffed on ham and turkey and all the other good stuff like I did. And don't forget to grab it by the nose and whip its ass.